So I thought that I would do basically like a little preparation, talk about some creatures that I've seen in the trailer or some creatures that are rumored to appear. And a lot of the creatures are based on Slavic mythology. The story is originally Polish. I'm from the Czech Republic. It's literally like right next to it. So some of the creatures that appear in the series are basically coming from stories that I grew up with, and it's so cool to see them just coming to life. And it's also nice to see how popular the series is. Now, I originally wanted to make a video about it after the series comes out, but I cannot film after 16th of December. I basically will not film at all in the second half of December, so that's why I'm making this video right now. And then in January I might do part 2, or basically I will include every creature that appears in the series after I watch it. Okay, now let's just jump right into it. So the first creature that appears in the trailer, well, it's not exactly the first, it's the first that I'm gonna talk about, is Legen, or also Legi. So a Legi or Legen is a male spirit that's humanoid in shape and lives in deep forests. They usually lure children, like in some versions of stories, they lure even adults. Just to be clear, like a lot of the times the stories vary from country to country, so I'm trying to like put it all together. He is sometimes portrayed with horns or with a pack of wolves or bears. In some accounts of Slavic mythology, Legi also has a wife called Legenika, or also children called Leszonki. And the name actually comes from the Slavic term for forest, which is les. I actually made a video talking about specifically Czech mythology if you want to check it out. I also talked about this creature in that video specifically. Now, usually humans that get lost in the forest would come across Legi, and one way to basically avoid him is to turn your clothes inside out. So that might help if you ever come across it in the forest. Remember this advice. Sometimes they dig their root-like arms into the ground, and this is a sign that they're commending roots to strike. You can actually see that in the trailer as well, because Geralt and Ciri, I think, fight the different roots, and I can only imagine how difficult it must be. So this is basically a forest monster in the Witcher series that is described as something that lives only to kill. So the Witcher version of this creature is much more intimidating than the Slavic version that I was hearing when I was a young kid. Okay, sometimes they can also turn into a smoke form, where they will raise both arms above their head and swirl in dark smoke, but I don't know if they will also include this in the series. Okay, let's move on to the next creature. So, when I was watching the trailer, at some point you can see this little hut in the forest turning around, and so my first initial reaction was just like, oh, that's so cool, that's Papaya. So Papaya is a woman that lives in the forest. There are so many different versions of the stories, but in the more known versions, I guess, she because the series would add a creature, which can happen as well. Like I said, it's too early for me to tell. However, there is a creature that I think might appear actually instead, and the creature, or more like creatures, is called the crones. The crones. The crones. And it seems like to me they actually merged two different creatures together. So the first one is Papaya, and the second one is called Three Weird Sisters. In my language we call them Sujichki, but they can also be called Sujaye or Razaniche. Maybe my pronunciation might not be the best. I couldn't find from which languages these terms come from. So now I'm talking about the Slavic mythology, just to be clear. So what these three women do is that they weave fate of a newborn child. So one of them weaves its death, one weaves its strengths and weaknesses, and the third one weaves luck, long life, and prosperity. Similar beings also exist in Greek mythology, and they are called Moirai. I should have also mentioned that the three weird sisters appear in Shakespeare's Macbeth, and they are mighty creatures who would define destiny. And the crones are pretty similar in that way. So the crones, they're also called the ladies of the wood, are three witches who live in a cabin. Okay, and legend suggests that these are the three sisters and a daughter of original Lady of the Wood. Now this story is super complex, and I don't know how much I should tell you because I don't want to spoil anything, and I also don't know how they will interpret this in the TV show. So I'll not talk about the mother or what they did or anything like that. They are ancient, immortal creatures, but they can be killed. They are named Bruis, Weavis, and Wispus. Okay, so let's start with Weavis, I think. So Weavis is the youngest, and she weaves tapestries from human hair. So there's this ceremony called the cutting, where young boys cut their hair for the first time, and it's supposed to signify their passage to manhood. And Weavis collects this hair and makes tapestry out of them. She has a red head and also not fully formed legs, just protruding from her body. I'll show you a picture. It's super terrifying. The picture is from the game, by the way, the Witcher game. Okay, then we have Bruis. So Bruis is the cook and the alchemist, and she has probably hundreds of recipes for a human soup. She has this bloated body and her face is hidden behind a bucket. Okay, and the last one is Wispus. I think she's the oldest, but I'm not too sure. And her head is covered as well, and she has a necklace basically made out of human ears, and she can hear every kind of whisper around the forest, or basically around the area, because she also has a sizable collection of ears scattered around the area. Okay, so she can hear everything. When they are making their potions, the soups, they usually take on a form of a beautiful that it's not entirely confirmed in the books or the games, but I might be wrong. Okay, so as you can see, the crones are basically a mixture of the three weird sisters and Papaya. You know, they're human eating, creepy, they weave fate as well. Okay, now let's move on to the next creature that will appear, I think, definitely just seeing from the trailer. And the creature is called Bruxa. Bruxa, whatever pronunciation you prefer. So the Bruxa is basically a vampire, and she is incredibly dangerous. She's not a typical vampire, but she's not like Edward Cullen either. So she can smell garlic. Bruxa is a higher vampire, and she's also a post-conjunction creature, which means that she's not originally from this world. So to explain this, conjunction is basically like a bunch of different dimensions just smashing together around, was it like 1,500 years ago or something like that, before the events of The Witcher takes place. And so a bunch of different creatures from different dimensions appeared in the present world, basically. And she appears as a beautiful young woman, and obviously she drinks blood. She often finds a man to become her lover, so she can get a constant supply of blood, basically. And she can sometimes be mistaken for a water nymph called Rusalka. I also included Rusalka, I think, in my Slavic mythology video, the original one that I already was talking about. And she, like I said, she's incredibly powerful, she's agile, she's steel resistant, and she can only be killed with a blade of silver sword. Okay, so let's move on. Now, I'm not sure if this creature will appear or not. I think she might. So, this creature is called Banshee. You probably have heard about banshees. They are female spirits who cries on the Seovian night, and they are warning those who will die. Okay, so they are not specifically malicious spirits, but to see one is considered to be a terrible omen of the worst kind, basically. You do not want to hear banshees cry because it means you're gonna die, obviously. And they usually appear as pale, thin women wearing grey vestments, and they have burning red eyes. Okay, this next creature I also am not fully sure if it will appear or not. So this creature is called Ihead, and it is a post-conjunction monster with 4 pairs of thin legs, a segmented body, eyes mounted on stalks, and they resemble dead logs. And there is no known antidote for their venom. They are usually non-aggressive, they move slowly, and they are very sensitive to sounds because they can hear with its entire body. And in particular, metallic sounds are extremely painful for this creature. Okay, so the next creature, I know it will appear in The Witcher, definitely, because I've seen it in the trailer. Okay, so it's not exactly a monster, and I don't know how much I want to talk about him because I'm worried that it will ruin the series for you. I've read the books where he comes out, so it's not really that surprising to me. Anyway, so this man is called Nivellen, and like I said, he's not a monster, he is a man that was cursed. And all I'm gonna say is that his grandfather and father were in a gang, and he also this without any remorse until he did something to a priestess. I don't want to talk about this too much, and also I might get demonetized if I did. But long story short, she cursed him and he grew fur and became more monster-like. But silver doesn't actually hurt him like other monsters. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to spoil it for you guys. I feel like this is a big plot point in the story, so that's all I'm gonna say. Now the last creature is the Wild Hunt. And again, I'm not even sure if the Wild Hunt appears in the TV show in the second season. The Wild Hunt was inspired by Norse mythology. It typically involves a chase led by a mythological figure, usually Odin, escorted by a ghostly or supernatural group of hunters. Seeing the Wild Hunt was considered to be a sign of a catastrophe, and it sometimes resulted in the death of the one who witnessed it. The hunters are generally the souls of the dead or ghostly dogs, sometimes fairies or elves. Now I will tell you about the Wild Hunt in the Witcher universe. So I'm not gonna talk about them too much. So the Wild Hunt is a group of specters galloping in the sky. They are originally elves, and during the conjunction of the spheres, like I already talked about, they left their kin and they used portals to enter to a new world. And the world was inhabited by humans and unicorns. Okay, they completely eradicated the humans, and they still continued to fight with unicorns. After some time passed, they wanted slaves, and as you can imagine, unicorns are not really good slaves. So they wanted humans, however they killed all of them in their world. So they started to travel between worlds together, slaves. And I think that's all I'm gonna say really. They usually wore skeletal armor and they used only black horses, and they have a terrifying appearance to scare everybody basically. So their main reason of going into a world is to take slaves. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna spoil anything. Like I said, I don't even know if they will come out in season 2 or not. So I think that's all you have to know. Okay, so that will be it for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope that this video made you feel maybe a bit more prepared for the second season of The Witcher. You might know that I'm a fantasy enthusiast, so I cannot wait for the second season too. And if you're still here, please promise that you will come back in January for a second part of this video when I'll actually know more about the creatures and I can actually talk about more spoilers in that video. Okay, pinky promise. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you have liked this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.